Hello and welcome back to a new video. I hope you are enjoying your day. Today, I'm going to tell you what happened in 2009. What was the panoramic? Because we're falling in line. What we did when we talk about the early internet stages in 2000s. That is when the curve is starting to go up in terms of online presence. But I have an asterisk about 2010. I think this is when everything started to go a bit blurry. But that is just me. In which year do you think things started to go messier? So I have here Generations Online in 2009, a new article for you. Also read by me and give my opinions and integrations as well. So, what was happening back in 2009? We already know that the internet was starting to be popular between younger generations, but as more than half of the adult internet population is between 18 and 44 years old back in the day, while larger percentages of older generations were going online, having more online presence. According to the Pew Research Center's Internet and American Life Project Service, taken from 2006 to 2008. The biggest increase in Internet use since 2005 can be seen in the 70 to 75-year-old age group, while just over one fourth, 26%, of 70 and 75-year-olds were online in 2005. 45% of that age group is currently or were currently online. Can you imagine that? Much as we match demographic and age groups move up in degrees of access, still the younger population were dominating the online presence back in the day. Instant messaging, social networking, and blogging gained ground as communications tools, but email remained the most popular online activity, particularly among older internet users. And have you thought about email getting behind? I think it is widely used on corporate spheres, but outside the corporate spheres, we aren't emailing people as much as before outside of the pen pal or what do you think? Do you use your email for daily communications with people outside your own corporate sphere? Let me know. Fully 74% of internet users aged 64 and older sent and received email, making email the most popular online activity for this age group. At the same time, email lost some ground among teens, whereas 89% of teens said they used email in 2004. Just 73% generally say they do. And that was low in 2009. Can you imagine that? But what about the teens and the Y generation? That is the age gap between 18 and 32 years old. And they are the most likely groups to use the internet for entertainment and for communicating with friends and family, as we also do today. These younger generations are significantly more likely than their older counterparts to seek entertainment through online videos, online games, and virtual worlds. And this last one started becoming like really popular on Facebook, for example, with mini games simulating some type of inner walls in there in order for you to get entertained outside of just messaging and sending friend requests. Can you imagine any, or can you recall any of those virtual games? Facebook hack, I remember I used to play some of those. But they were also more likely to download music and to listen to it later when we still had CDs going around and where you just go to some kind of not certified page to go and to download some music back in the day. No, it's still a thing, okay? Internet users ages 12 to 32 were more likely than older users to read other people's blogs and to create their own. There was like a boom in 2010 2014 about blogs and people getting popular because of them. You could get featured in magazines, you could get some partnerships just based on blogs because people used to read them more, as people used to purchase more magazines and to read more magazines. But I know nowadays that has changed. Do you still read blogs nowadays? And were you also on the Tumblr loop where people had like this social media platform that was also like inner blogs inside of it? Do you have an account on there? And let me know. Adding the fact that people also used to grade more because people needed to grade those. So perhaps it's an ability lost in online surfaces and people getting back to handwriting, or maybe the opposite. But I think that's also curious. It's not only the reading part, but the writing part as well was like on the rise in the online world. But we have this age between 12 to 32 years old. They were more likely to read other users' blogs and to write them down, as we mentioned. But they were also more likely than older generations to use social networking sites and to create profiles on those sites. Younger internet users often used personal blogs to update their friends on their lives, and they used social networking sites to keep track of and communicate with friends. Between this age group, they were also significantly more likely than older generations to send instant messages to friends. By a large margin, teen internet users' favorite online activity was game playing. 78% of people between 12 to 17-year-old internet users played games online, compared with 73% of online teens who emailed. The second most popular activity for this age group back in the day. Online teens were also significantly more likely to play games than any other generation. But who would have guessed that? I think that is also a pattern that continues today. Compared with these young generations, older generations use the internet less for socializing and entertainment purposes and more as a tool for information searches, emailing, and buying products. Yes, we had e commerce back in the day as well. In particular, older internet users were significantly more likely than younger generations to look online for health information. Health questions drive internet users age 73 and older to the internet just as frequently as they drive Generation Y users, outpacing teens by a significant margin. Researching health information was the third most popular online activity with the most senior age group after emailing and online searching. Internet users ages 33 to 72 were also significantly more likely than younger users to look online for religious information, and they were more likely to visit government websites in search of information. As a whole, Generation X, that it will go through ages 33 to 44, continued to lead in online shopping. Fully 80% of Generation X internet users bought products online, compared with 71% of internet users ages between 18 to 32 years old. Interest in online shopping was significantly lower among the youngest and oldest groups. 38% of online teens bought products online, as also 56% of internet users ages 64 to 72, and 47% of internet users ages 73 and older did. Generation X internet users had also maintained their edge in online banking, as they were significantly more likely than any other generation to do their banking online, around 67%. As Generation Y users grew older, however, they became much more likely to bank online as well. The percentage of online Generation Y who did banking online rose from 38% in 2005 to 57% in 2008. There wasn't any significant growth among older generations when it comes to banking online. A few online activities previously dominated by either older generations or younger generations were now being done more equally across all generations under 73 years old in 2009. One such activity was downloading videos, an activity that in 2005 was significantly more popular with teens and Generation Y than with any other generation. Generation X was catching up, as 31% of that generation claimed to download videos as of 2007, compared with 38% of Generation Y. Generations on the oldest end of the spectrum also became significantly more likely than they had been 2 years before to download videos. Some 13% of GI generation internet users, that is an age between 73 and more, reporting downloading videos, after 1% in 2005. So yeah, that was an increase for sure. Perhaps less surprisingly, Generation Y was also gaining significant ground in some activities previously dominated by Generation X and older. In addition to becoming more likely to do banking online, Generation Y also grew more likely to make travel reservations online. In 2005, half 50% of Generation Y internet users had booked travel arrangements online, and in 2008, that number rose to 65%. That is why nowadays it is suitable to be an independent travel agent for people, because now people just go where they want to go, book the ticket, and then just make the suitcases. The workplace online network was expanding to include more Generation Y users. Internet users between 18 to 32 were going online more than ever to do research for their jobs. In 2007, 51% said they used the internet for their jobs other than for email, compared with 44% of the same group in 2005. Since this same year, broadband access was increased dramatically in the United States across all age groups, but older groups were largely unconnected to high-speed internet. For Americans ages 12 to 24, broadband access was increased about half for 25 to 64 years old. It doubled, and for seniors 65 and older, broadband access had more than tripled. The percentage of the oldest age group to have broadband at home was still very low, however, at just 16%. High-speed connections make it more convenient for internet users to participate in online activities, and broadband users were significantly more likely than dial-up users to do almost all major online activities. And now we have Alexa. So we escalated so fast in such short amount of time. When looking at internet users who went online from home in 2008, broadband was more equally accessed by all age groups. 70% of home internet users older than 75 years old had high speed access. As broadband access continued to increase for all age groups, as it was also expected for all the activities to increase in some kind of way, but for all the age groups after that. But nowadays, I think we just marked off limits, all the charts, all the statistics. We live on an internet revolution, and we're still going on an internet revolution because it hasn't stopped. That's the thing. That we are like some constantly overpacked with revolutions, meaning new products, new processes, new ways of accessing to it, that the internet itself just became the revolution itself. And that is something that is shocking, and that is something that the human brain isn't capable of processing. We were made to such a speed and such as fast pacing in also in a tool or environment. We were naturally evolving to it, that isn't naturally attached from us, and that isn't naturally developed by us. So it is something made artificially by us. So how do we expect us to be adapting to something that isn't even natural? And with that being said, and that the charts are off limits today, how do you see the human brain evolving? Do you think that we're going to lose some skills? Do you think that our brain is going to reduce its size? Do you think that we're just going we're going to be like backwards like a lot and implementing always, or the contrary, that we're going to adapt really quickly, that our brain is going to evolve rapidly, and that we're going to develop new or more advanced skills based on the ones we already had? We don't want to live in a dichotomy, as well as we don't want to lose track of what's happening outside. But it's not only outside, it's already inside of our homes. The online connections are everywhere. So, how do we keep track, and how do we evolve, and how do we still appreciate always all in the same way? And we just keep living a decent, regular life. That's the challenge right there. Are we going to be capable of following the steps of technology? Are we getting behind those steps? And what will happen if we get behind? What will happen to us as a species? Are we building the paths of our own extinction? Or on the contrary, we're building what is going to save us from whatever else we're doing in the same era to ourselves? I would like to rate your appreciations on this information I just gave you and these questions as well. It's a really interesting topic, and of course, it's a topic that also keeps getting more and more information for sure. Thank you so much for being here, and see you in another video. Bye bye.